maybe a cold glass of water to the face for Bryce Young supporters out there. The league has spoken. They do not see Bryce Young as a top half of the league quarterback, and it might not even be close. ESPN conducts this poll every offseason. It is an anonymous poll of of NFL front office executives, coaches, and scouts. So the way I describe it is the players that dedicate their lives, their professional careers, to evaluating football players. Right? There's hobbyists out there. There's analysts that do it. But if you're a scout, if you're a front office executive or a coach, it's pretty much the most important thing you do. So they polled those players, those people. They ask for top 10 at each position. They take those lists, compile them, and come up with the kind of consensus top 10. They add honorable mention, right? Then players that receive the next most amount of votes. Then they add the also receiving votes categories. That's pretty much everybody else that anybody put on a list. Today is quarterback day. They released the position of quarterback. The top 10 did not include Bryce Young. I don't think anybody's surprised by that. There were 2 honorable mentions. Did not include Bryce Young. There were 6 also receiving votes. Did not include Bryce Young. So that, you can do the math, right? That's 18 players that the league has spoken, had got at least a vote, got some votes. None of them are Bryce Young. There are only 32 teams, right? So do the math. He's a bottom half quarterback at best, right? And we don't know. We don't know if he's 19 or 27, right? We just know he's not top 18. And I can hear fans out there. I can hear. How? Did you see the second half of that season? Did you see how he bounced back? Oh, now that he's on the same page with Canales, and oh goodness, he's gonna. But how is he not? Who's above him? Who's above him? I'll tell you who's above him. The top 10, I don't think you can really argue with. It's Pat Mahomes, it's Josh Allen, Burrow, Lamar, Jaden Daniels, Matt Stafford, Justin Herbert, Jared Goff, Jalen Hurts, Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, pretty tough list to go against.
Honorable mention, the guy drafted one spot after Bryce, C.J. Stroud, and Jordan Love. Also receiving votes, Kyler Murray, Brock Purdy, Dak Prescott, Aaron Rodgers, Tua Tagovailoa, Bo Nix. Now, we could make some arguments maybe that one of these guys is ranked too high. Jaden Daniels seems high. Like, we could go and we could relitigate this whole list. I'm not saying Bryce Young should be on it. Matter of fact, I agree that he's not. I don't see anybody on there and say Bryce Young has actually put the tape or put the play together to be above them. And if you think he is, if you think he should be above Aaron Rodgers, if you think he should be above Tua Tagovailoa or Bo Nix or name whoever you think they are, I think you're dealing with a something that I think we all fall for. And, Graham, I like to name my theories. For me, I call it the Allen Robinson tunnel vision. Okay, and I explained this on the Adam Gold Show earlier today. I'll explain it once again for those of you that weren't listening. I think it was 2014. I had Allen Robinson on my fantasy team. And Allen Robinson was a wide receiver for the Jaguars that led the country, meaning the NFL, in touchdown receptions. And he wasn't selected to the Pro Bowl. Okay? All you need to know, he had a really good year for him, and he was not selected to the Pro Bowl originally. And I got very upset. Not because I'm a Jags fan, not because I was a Penn State fan where Allen Robinson went, none of that. I had watched all of Allen Robinson's games because he was on my fantasy team. So I knew he had, I think it was 14 touchdowns, and I knew that he was open for 4 more and Blake Bortles missed him, and I knew that he caught 2 more, but they were called back for penalties away from the ball, and I knew that he made 2 unbelievable catches down at the 1-yard line, but they ran it in, and he should have got credit for those touchdowns. And so I knew all the context about Allen Robinson. So I was sitting there, and it was 14 touchdowns, but in my head, it was really 24 touchdowns because he had the 10 that didn't count, but they should have. So I was like, how is he not in the Pro Bowl? This guy's unbelievable. But what I didn't do, right, and this is because I was a flawed thinker at the time, and still am in many ways, what I didn't do was go watch the guys that were in the Pro Bowl. The guys that were selected over him, the guys that people thought were better than him, and watch to see how many touchdowns they had taken away for penalties, or watch to see how many touchdowns their quarterback overthrew them on, or watch to see how unbelievable their plays were that got down at the one. I didn't do that for everybody, right? So I just had context for one player. Thus, I thought he was better than he actually was. And by the way, he made it as an alternate. So if you're sitting there going, but Bryce Young's offensive line wasn't very good, or his receivers weren't getting open. But Bryce Young, he improved so much as the year went on. But Bryce Young. I'm going, all right, I'll hear you. I hear you. Trust me, I'm down on his wide receivers like everybody else last year. And I'm down on his offensive line the year before like everybody else last year. And I don't think Dave Canales was the best play caller, particularly early on, and he hit his stride later. And I agree that he had all that holding him back. And yes, their defense was historically bad. I hear you. I gotcha. Are you going to go watch every single game from all of the quarterbacks above him and see if their offensive line wasn't playing great? How many passes did Tua Tagovailoa have dropped? How many times did he not have time to get the ball off because an offensive lineman messed up? Or how many times did his defense, get beat quickly and not give him time to figure it out on the sideline? Or same with Kyler Murray, or same with Jordan Love, and on and on and on and on. If you're not putting the context together for anyone but Bryce Young, you are dealing with Allen Robinson tunnel vision, right? You're missing the context elsewhere. Since then, and what I believe is less flawed thinking, I tend to believe it comes out in the wash, right? I tend to believe, unless there's like a historic year where a player deals with like record-breaking amounts of drops from his receivers, I tend to believe that your stats are what your stats are, and we can compare them. I get very frustrated when somebody goes, yeah, but his offensive line stunk. And I'm going like, all right, let's go look at every other team and see what their stats do. Because you could argue, like the good teams, they're ahead more. So their passing yards, their passing stats are artificially held behind because they're playing 4-minute offense and they're not in a rush and they're not slinging it to come back from deficits, right? So if you're on a good team, your stats are artificially held down. But if you're on a bad team, they're artificially held down by having not a great supporting cast. Like everything comes out in the wash. Everybody's got to deal with it.
And I mean, I'm not trying to sit here and be a Debbie Downer on Bryce Young, because in those last 7 games, he played really good against 2 of the teams that were in the NFL, in the Super Bowl: Kansas City Chiefs, Philadelphia Eagles. 1 possession loss in each of those games, 2 possession loss against the Eagles. But then you look at the only teams that they beat in their final 7 stretch: Arizona Cardinals in overtime. Panthers eliminated the Cardinals from playoff contentions with that win, and it took them an overtime to go up to knock out a Kyler Murray and not a good Cardinals team. And then the Atlanta Falcons, that's one of those games where you just need to take care of business.
The Falcons win was a good win. Do not get me wrong. Falcons win was a good win for the Panthers.
44-38 in overtime. But after watching quarterbacks, it makes you realize how murky of a situation it was down there in Atlanta.
The most important thing in a quarterback's ability is consistency. Most important, right? There's a lot of guys that can have a good game. There's a lot of guys that can go out there and dice it up for a month. You're not going to win. You're not going to carry a team. You're not going to be a franchise guy if you don't play very well way more often than not. The Atlanta game was a good win. Great game from Bryce. You're not going to hear me talk down upon it. He looked electric. It's one game. No NFL executive anonymously is saying that guy is great because of the Atlanta game. It's just not how it works.